Welcome to Attack of Opportunity.
Hello and welcome to Attack of Opportunity. Today, it is once again part of our international edition. This summer, we are reaching hands across the water. We are talking to SuperSaddler96, Andy from north of Birmingham in the UK. SuperSaddler, or shall we just call you Andy? What shall we call you? Thanks so much for being on the show.
Andy sounds absolutely lovely.
Andy, absolutely lovely. So, to start off, if you're unaware, our man SuperSaddler96 here, Andy, as he's known to his close friends like me, or trying to get to that point, has his very own YouTube channel, and you can find him on Twitter, and we'll get into that soon. But as a content creator, it makes him one of our victims here today. So the question that we love to ask all of our guests right at the gate is, when did you first know? How did you first know that you were a geek, a nerd, one of us? Do
you know what? That's actually quite a good question. I don't know. I can't remember a time when I haven't sort of felt like that in a way. I used to collect like Warhammer models when I was younger. I've been playing video games ever since I was really, really young. Me and my brother's a few years older than me, but we used to play on like the Nintendo 64 back when I was just like a few years old, So, as far as I'm concerned, I've always been a massive nerd.
Oh, that's good. That's good. This primes you for for the world we live in, because it's hip to be geek these days. But
it finally paid off.
It finally pays off, yeah. But was there a defining moment or like a gateway drug, like video games specifically, cosplay, card games, TV, movies, sci-fi? Like what got you into the actual RPG world?
So I only started playing Dungeons and Dragons a couple of years ago, but when I think back to like my childhood, the two defining things for me, one of them was the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I would have only been 5 when the Fellowship of the Ring came out, but obviously as the years went by, I grew up with those films, And my absolute favorite game of all time is The Elder Scrolls Oblivion, which I put so many hours into that as a kid. Like I absolutely love that game, and I think that massively drew me into video games and things like that.
Yeah, I remember 4. Was it 4? Yeah, 4 and 5. 5 being Skyrim, that really put on the map. But I remember 4 when the wife and I discovered it. So you said since you were a kid, like how long have you been a gamer?
I would say I remember playing on the Nintendo 64 when I was about 4 years old with my brother, which is like really going back. But I think properly playing on my own probably since I was probably about 7 or 8 years old.
Right. And you said you've only been playing like tabletop RPGs. But you got into Oblivion, which is a video game RPG. When was the crossover?
Yeah.
When was the crossover from one to that tabletop, experience? Like the actual D20 dice comes out, you buy your first dice. When did that happen?
Oh, there's actually almost about 11 years difference between the two, because I played Oblivion in the year it came out, which I think was 2006. Oblivion came out, but I only got into tabletop RPGs 2 years ago. So there's a long time between playing it on video games and actually rolling a D20.
Oh yeah. So you've been playing which edition now? Dungeons and Dragons, and there's 5 editions plus basic, and on it goes. Which was your first edition?
I'm a real baby with this whole thing. It's only 5th edition for me.
Yeah, and how long have you been playing that?
2 years as well. A lot of the people I've been playing with since have also been people I've kind of got into the hobby, and people I've DM'd for as it's their first time. So we've just played 5th edition from there on. I would like to try some of the older editions. I've heard some good things about some of them, and some not so good things depending on which edition you're looking at.
We play a splinter off edition called Pathfinder, which is jokingly referred to as 3.75, but we love it.
Yeah.
But then again, like 4th edition is very unpopular with a lot of people, and we love playing the Saga edition Star Wars, which was technically the prototype for that edition, and we love it. It's brilliant. But the latest and greatest, you could be denying yourself. Some of the best stuff adventure-wise is written. Earlier off the air, we were discussing the Curse of Strahd versus 1st edition Kessel Ravenloft, and the novel I Strahd that came out, and all that stuff that for a DM could be great resource material to dig deeper, versus just a sort of like, oh, it's out on the shelf, everybody's doing this, but that comes from podcasting and wanting to present content that's original. Now you are a content creator, so before we get into that,
I am indeed.
Before we get into that question, what got you into DMing, as opposed to being a player, or did you have to do it out of the gate just to get a game going?
No, I was quite fortunate. So we had a guy called Morgan at our wargaming club who said he actually really wanted to try DMing for a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and I'd never played it. I'd never really had the chance to play it because they didn't have like societies at my university for this kind of thing. So I was like, yeah, I'm massively up for that. I think that's a really good idea. We played in that one for a while, and then I tried to run a smaller campaign based in like the Elder Scrolls universe.
Yep.
Which it turned out it was a bit of a disaster. I'm not going to lie. So we quickly glossed over that and went on to something else. That was my first ever. I had done a one shot before, but that was my first ever trip into running a campaign as a DM. And it was a disaster. It's a surprise I ever got back into it, to be honest, after that one. But I then, but the one thing that got me into it mainly was I had a group of friends who. It actually just came up one day. I actually play football with these people, or soccer to you guys, I should imagine.
Yes, thank you.
And
for that definition.
Yeah. Just to clarify, I'm not an American footballer in any way. So we actually play football, and we were just talking about something one day, and he said, "Oh, some of the folks at my D&D group are like that." And I was like, "Really? You play D&D?" Like it was a real surprise. Like we had no idea that either of us did this. And then some of the other members of our football club were just like, "Oh, yeah, I'd actually love to give that a go too." And there was about 5 of us in the end who were all just like, how have we not had this discussion before today? Like I've known them like all my life, and we'd never had this discussion before this day. Well, so I said to them, well, you know what, I'd like to give DMing a go. You guys are all brand new. It'll be essentially brand new for me because I've never run like a proper DM setting, especially for my close friends. And we just gave it a go, and it's gone from there.
That's what I love about Game of Thrones and the Big Bang and stuff is it becomes a mainstream topic, even if people hate it, like they didn't like the last season of Game of Thrones. People are talking about it, and then somebody will come over, and get out of the geek closet, exactly. As it were. No longer the closet geek. They'll be like, yeah, take off your stripes and your big number 5 on your football uniform. You're like, I'm into that.
Well, even some of those mates of mine now, some of them want to try DMing and things like that. So it was amazing how, I mean, I've known them some of them I've known for like 15 years kind of thing. And it's amazing how we've never discussed that, but yet now we all love it and we do it like regularly kind of thing.
These are the same mates that you go with like to a movie and you're sitting there watching the Avengers and there's no, like, it really is kind of, if you think about it, because you really, you share interests with your friends, or are they just strictly like football mates? Like there are.
We played football together. We played video games together. We would go to movies together. We did a lot, and it never came up once.
That's pretty unique, but it's okay. You saved the day. You're playing now. It's nerd poker, as it were. The geeks night out. So from there's deciding to become a content creator, and that's huge. You got to be brave. You don't have to know what you're doing. And you got to have fun with it. But what made you decide to...
It's a good job you don't have to know what you're doing, because I'm firmly in that category.
I've watched your content. I've looked at it before I reached out to interview. And the advice... First of all, I love the fact that you have something going on in the background as sort of a visual stimulant. You're playing video games while you're prattling on about some DMing advice, but it's addictive. It's like I just started watching you, And as we were discussing earlier over, like you're brand new, so that, like there's a couple beats in audio and visual and stuff that any amateur, I'm still making huge mistakes myself, are making, but there's still something there where you grab someone's attention, and it's only going to get better. Your audio will get better, your visual will get better, your content gets better, gets more, So I know it's a little bit earlier to say, but you got to check out YouTube's SuperSaddler96.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
And leave this guy comments, especially if you know half of what you're doing, because I've given him what little knowledge that I have, and he needs more. He needs to grow. We got to help this guy.
I always put that like at the end of my videos. I say to people, like, if you've got feedback, don't worry about being nice. If it's critical, be critical, because it's the only way, like, it's one of the best ways you can improve, isn't it?
The only way to grow. But what made you decide to become one? Like, I know you can YouTube for free and upload it for free and make videos with free software and stuff, but what made you to put in the time and decide that you had something to say? What was that moment? Did you see another content creator? Was there an inspiration on the net for you? Or, what was that defining moment for you to go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go from the 99% of people that are on their phone watching endlessly entertain me to being the 1% content creator where you just become obsessed with, like, oh, crap, I got to get a video up this week. I got to edit this. I got to, No, there is a joy to it, but was there a moment for you? Was there an inspiration for you in there?
I suppose there was, in a way. I'd been thinking about it for probably a couple of years, and it was one of those things where I never had the confidence to do it. I'm not a confident person by nature, and I'd put it off for a couple of years, and I was getting towards the end of my degree, and I study law as like my degree, but I hate it. I absolutely hate it, and I knew when I finished it was not what I wanted to do. So I was just really stuck, and I thought, well, I've still got a year before I finish, or it was a few months when I set the channel up. So So why not just see where it goes? Do you know what I mean? And I knew it would be slow and I wouldn't get many views to start with, but I actually got quite a few people commenting and saying lovely things about my first couple of videos. So I was like, let's just see where we can go from there, and just kept going. I was definitely inspired by a few people I watched. Being a big Dungeons and Dragons fan, I was a massive fan of Critical Role, watching those guys, and I enjoy watching like Puffin Forest and videos like that as well. So it was just, I just thought I'll buy myself a microphone, I'll get myself some recording software so I don't have to put my face on things, and I can just have a bit of background things to aid the video, and I'll just see where it goes from there. And when I made my first few videos, I found I also was actually really enjoying it, and that's just such a massive bonus. So I was like, oh yeah, wow, okay, I found something here that I really love.
So do you record yourself playing the video game and then take the audio that you've recorded, thinking your thoughts and giving out the advice, and then putting them together? Or are you trying to, like, there's a couple of videos where you're playing Overwatch and running around, and you got to focus, and it's a battle, you got to focus, but you're just right on the beats going, so this is what I feel about this, and this is what I feel about that. I'm wondering, are you actually playing the game while you're recording the audio, or do you splice them together in the after?
Some of them are spliced together, and some of them are recorded whilst I'm playing the game at the same time.
Well, that's good.
It's kind of weird. I find if I try to like write myself like scripts and things of my thoughts, and I just throw it out the window anyway. So I was like, I'll just gather everything that I want to say together, and it'll come out in any old order, and then I'll just try and make it seem like I knew what I was saying when I started making the video in the first place. So some of them are actually recorded whilst I'm playing the games, and some of them I've recorded the games and then recorded the audio separately afterwards.
Yeah, you have to almost distract yourself to keep your thoughts in line, so it just comes out naturally. Trust me.
Yeah.
I get that. The reason I was asking about the technical question is a lot of people ask me about the style that some of us have, and I'm known for being very, very heavy and controlling narrative, and it almost doesn't feel like an actual play. The characters are responding and they're playing and everything, but I'm very heavy. I'm running the technical aspect in front of me, and I get distracted and I don't shut up. So while I'm asking a question or describing something, I'll glance at another monitor and describe it a different way, and look at another monitor and describe it a different way. I'm going sound check here, video here, this game, the recording there, and that type of thing. And my son really nailed it, which really cracked up my cast. Even my wife, who has a private game with me at home when we game, and my son does this impression of the actor from a Disney cartoon called Emperor's New Groove. And Kronk is talking about Cusco's poison. He's like, Cusco's poison, the poison for Cusco. The Cusco that we've prepared for Cusco, the poison that's for Cusco. Like, it's just going on and on, or different ways, but it's like...
I've seen it once, the film. I'm not too familiar with it, but I did watch it once at university, I think.
But it's that on and on and on. It's mostly because I'm distracted, and even though I edit a lot of the stuff, I should take it out. And I saw you playing and listening to you, and I noticed that while you were interacting with the game, there were pauses in your thought process. And I was like, holy crap, this guy is playing and dominating on Overwatch while talking about D&D. And it was brilliant. I was like, this guy's really committed. That's what the tangent story was about.
The one in particular I think you were talking about, I think I was playing as a healer on Overwatch, and I was recording at the same time. And I think if I remember correctly, I was just spamming healing orbs out, and I was just like, I'll just do this for the whole round while I'm discussing this. And everyone will be happy because I'm healing everybody. It's weird. I think if I try to write down a script, I think I just kind of freeze and it comes out worse. Same as whenever I try to like DM with like module books and stuff, they give you like passages to read, don't they, for like descriptions and things like that. It doesn't work for me. I prefer to do it myself. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't. Oh no, doesn't seem to work.
One of the first things I always say, I don't know if they pay per word in a book, and 300 pages is cheaper for them to produce than 278 pages. Back in the day, it would say you could read and or paraphrase the following text, which means go it your own way. They spit it out. One of the things I love to do with my characters, with my players, is there's that make a diplomacy check for your gather info, or make this kind of check, and they're like, right, what do I know? And then the DM has to tell them, and they miss that opportunity to turn to the cast and role play it. So I'll email them on the spot and going, this is what you know, or give me the role now, or something like that, where they're prepped and they can look at this text, and it's all like very basic, generic. But then in character, they'll say, I've heard this about the princess, and it's a lot more organic. You hear them roll, and
I do the same thing. If people make an insight check, I'll message them on Facebook with what they've learned from the insight check, rather than telling them over the table.
Yeah, and it just comes. It's much more organic, and like I said, what your show on YouTube seems organic to me than someone who's prepped a perfect script and read it off. And respect, man, respect for that.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's absolutely because I never use a script because I can't. That's absolutely what it is.
Oh, it's one of the reasons I reached out to you, because I was interested in the content, not Nothing to do with how much or how many or how few followers of the fact or whatever. It was just I like the content. I want to talk to this guy. I want to interview this guy. And thank you so much for being on the show. How long have you been creating this content?
No, thank you for having me.
How long have you been going?
How long have I been making the content for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the channel was officially set up on the 12th of March, so only a few months. And I took like a break over mid to late May because I had my university final exams. So I was like, I'm not actually going to be able to put anything out during this period. So I started from mid-March and had about a 3-week break over May whilst I did my last exams. So, I mean, April, May, June. So yeah, only about 2-3 months.
Well, we're going to put this up on our channel. And I hope you put a link to it on yours, not only so that your own followers and listeners can learn a little bit more about the man behind the mask, as it were. But do you have anything else? Is there another content that you create? Is there anything else that you're putting out there besides your YouTube channel?
At the moment, no. I was thinking of setting up a Twitch channel, but I think I need better internet before I think about doing something like that. So I could... Because I think if I tried to stream at the moment, the quality would probably be quite poor. But I was thinking about starting a Twitch channel, but at the moment it is just my YouTube one. I thought I'd try and get that off the ground first and see where it goes before I tried anything else.
Yeah. And you can also live stream right to YouTube and Twitter now as well. It's not the huge audience that you might get off Twitch, but then again, less people to compete with, Next thing is, like, I know you're just getting going. Like I said, you're getting going, but I do love to ask... and talk to everyone as if they're at the same level, which is, just about to be discovered, Do you attend conventions and gatherings where your fans could possibly meet you in the UK, and if so, where?
Well, I think since I started in March, I'm not sure as if there's actually been many conventions in the UK. I've never actually been to a Comic-Con or anything like that. I would like to go, but obviously getting tickets and things is usually quite difficult. And I think if I went and sort of set up a stand with like my name and things, I know the stand would be pretty much empty for the most part.
No, I know. I didn't mean you invest the time and money going, hey, look at me. But going to them, you'd be surprised your voice alone or having your card on you and going, oh, yeah, I do a little bit of this, a little bit of glad handing while you're there. So where else can we find you online? I know you're on Twitter, because that's where I found you. I
am on Twitter, yeah. So my handle on Twitter is Saddler96, at Saddler96, because unfortunately someone took SuperSaddler96. I was gutted. I was so close. I'd almost got it on everything, but couldn't quite get there quick enough on Twitter.
So if they find your Super Saddler on YouTube, aren't you afraid that they're all just going to follow SuperSaddler96 on Twitter? And this guy's like,
I know. My Twitter handle is on my YouTube channel for that reason, but I put it in on Twitter and it was like, this username is taken. I was just like, no, please. My Instagram as well, I do post like pictures about my videos and like what it is on Create at the time. That is SuperSaddler96, and obviously my channel is SuperSaddler96 as well.
If you can make it go with a name, great. I've been struggling because without thinking, I just wanted something that rolled off the tongue, and we have Mongers for the brand, and myself on Twitter is GM Jeff Ball, because it just kind of flowed. And there's a bunch of GM Jeffs on Twitter I didn't know about, and some of them are pretty big. And I've gotten some of like not their mail, but I've had people thinking I'm someone else start up a conversation, and I'm like, I'm sorry, a solo campaign, one-on-one with no, I haven't been to that. I'm so sorry. I think you got the wrong guy. And they're really cool about it, but it's like, I'm kind of lost in a sea of Jeffs, and it's like, wow, I thought I was. I put it all in caps just to be annoying. It's like, you will not mistake this person, So I switched it to caps, and
I should imagine it's quite frustrating. I think from what I can remember, I mean, the inspiration for the name's taken from the football team that I support in England. It was called Warsaw Football Club. They're known as the Saddlers, so that was part of like what it was, where it came from.
That's brilliant. Comes from the you've got like a little history behind the name. So, you're not at the merchandising level. You're just getting going on social media.
No, not at all.
Do you mind if we ask you a couple personal questions?
Go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so what do you do for a living? You said you were a student.
So I'm due to graduate this year, actually. I'm just waiting on my results. I just work part-time, like in a supermarket, to get myself some money to pay my way through university, that kind of thing. And I'm waiting on my results, and I'm doing a bit of research on graduate schemes at the moment that I might be interested in. But it's quite hard because I don't really want to use my degree for what I got in. It seems like a bit of a waste of time now, but hopefully it's worth something. So yeah, at the moment I'm just researching graduate schemes and waiting for my results, which I should get at the end of the month, hopefully.
Yeah, well, as students are busy and have little time. So again, man, respect and props that you're trying to put up content on top of this. Can you talk to us about your latest project? Like, what have you been working on lately? Is there something excited that you'd like to turn our listeners to, going, well, if you're going to check me out, you got to check out this, Have you got something going on that's...
So I recorded my first episode of, like, it was meant to be like a small podcast with like a friend of mine, so I wanted to get somebody else on the channel with like a different voice. It turned into more of a Q&A really in the end, but that's my most recent video. I'd love people to go and check that out because he enjoyed filming it, I enjoyed filming it. Right, excuse me. And it was just great fun. I am working on quite a big project at the moment, but it's something I'll make various videos about it, but I don't think we're planning on recording the sessions. It might be quite difficult to put up on YouTube, so to speak.
If your mate gets discovered and goes off and goes and is huge without you, you got to say his name. You got just for royalty's sakes, you got to lock that down now, Saddler. Like
Oh, he didn't want me to. He didn't want me to. I did offer.
No, I'm just joking around with you. And what about works in the future? Have you got your sight on more, or are you going to lean towards a certain type of content? Now, we haven't really talked about the content itself. What I've seen is a video game stream with you discussing 5th edition tips and tricks and campaign ideas and a very just sort of open, this is what you've done, this is what you've discovered, this is what works for you. And I actually really gravitated to that because, in my humble opinion, it's really not how many years you've put in and the experience, because I have met DMs, GMs, and content creators with far, far, far less experience at the table than I have, and they are way better. They are far more insightful, and they have taught me things and continue to teach me things to try and up my game. You never stop. And so it's not a matter of years put in. It's really kind of your perspective of how you go about garnering the information and presenting it, going, I think this would work. Do you think this would work? This works for me. That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was doing when I was making some of them. Yeah, that was the idea.
So what made you choose that specific advice genre? I guess is what I should have asked you several questions ago.
Well, like you mentioned, it's for me, it's never really been about years you've been doing something. And I love discussing things with people because I think you can learn so much from people because everybody does things so differently. And I felt, I might be able to give people a few ideas that might be able to help them. They might be able to give me a few ideas. And I just love discussing all the hobbies that I've centered the channel around. And I've got mostly their wargaming and D&D based ones at the moment, but I will do more on different topics. But they're just things I just love discussing. So the videos are really easy for me to make because they're not like a chore at all. I actually love speaking about these things. And if it can sort of provoke like discussions and conversations with people from the community about these topics, then, even better. Like, I'd absolutely love that. So that was kind of the idea behind it. Not saying to people this is the best thing to do, because it's entirely subjective on you as a person, but just ideas. And some of them were, some of the tips that I put in the videos were things I've picked up from other people and I've found really helpful over the past couple of years.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I totally get that. So what about the future for you? Like, what would you like to do? Do you have another bit of content that you'd like to add to the channel, or you're just talking about you want to possibly branch out to live streams, but you're going to put that off? What have you got your sights set on in the future?
I would love to do like an actual play podcast with some of my friends. It would be quite hard for us to set it up, I think, so it might have to be a little bit further down the line. But I would love to be able to do something like that. I know that there are quite a few of them out there, so I'd want to do it when we can get a proper setup and make it really good, if that makes sense.
No.
Otherwise,
some of the best advice I've gotten is like, you don't just jump in. Like, you can. Like, there's nothing wrong with jumping in and learning as you go. Absolutely nothing. And some of the biggest ones out there did exactly that. And you can see the difference in quality, chemistry, and everything as they go along. But it's so saturated now. There are a lot of people saying, take a year, take your month, whatever you feel to get comfortable, to get that chemistry, to get your tech under you. So you lead with the better program of software, the better microphone and everything, that kind of thing. No, that is.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if I want to do it, I want to do it right, sort of thing. Okay. And we did experiment with like a bit of recording with some simple software, and it sounded dreadful. And I was like, I can't really put this up. I think if we're going to do it, we're going to need more than one microphone. We're going to need a few, and at the moment, that's not really an option. So I'm happy to make videos like I am doing. Perhaps just try and expand and do a few more topics. I'd like to do like a let's play as well, if a game I haven't played before. So I've got to get audio problems sorted on that end. And I'd love to be able to do more episodes like the podcast I did with my friend recently, because we had such a good time filming that. Like, that was so much fun. So I'd like to try and do a bit more of that, because that was literally the first time I've ever done a podcast type video. So yeah, I said there's a few things I definitely like to do, but it's one step at a time, isn't it? You got to take these things slowly.
Well, I do have it on good authority. Like I said, besides us putting up this video so that your listeners get a little bit of behind the scenes with you, and my listeners learn about you and devote the traffic your way, get you going. I know personally that my cast would actually love, for once in our Star Wars game, to have an Imperial agent speak to them that actually has a classic British accent, because I can't do it. So
British villains are the best kind, aren't they?
I know. So maybe you can help us out with a cameo. I mean, I'd love to hear you. In one of our shows, we'll have to set you up with a cameo if you like that. I mean, everybody loves Star Wars.
I would love to give that a go. Yeah, I would love to do things like that. I think that'd be great fun.
All right. Well, we'll have my people call your people, and we'll make a go of that.
They will be directed straight to me.
So you heard it here first. I've got him on tape, so he's committed. You're going to hear, we're going to hear some voiceovers or possibly a cameo or a bit more from Super Saddler in our We Shot First podcast, and we will see how it goes. I've been talking to Andrew in the UK. Goes by SuperSaddler96. Goes by @Saddler96. Not that fake guy, that SuperSaddler96 guy on Twitter. That's not the real deal. I got the real deal guy here. SuperSaddler96 on YouTube, Saddler96 by itself on Twitter. Check him out. Listen to
it's
what
heartbreaking to hear that.
You didn't get in at the ground floor. Hopefully you won't get lost in confusion. And thank you so much for being attacked by an opportunist such as myself, an attack of opportunity. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an amazing opportunity, and it's been amazing to have a conversation with somebody who I've not spoken to before. It was an actual real pleasure to meet you, and thank you to all of your listeners for putting up with me for this episode. I'm nervous as hell recording this because it's the first time I've done something like this, so I really appreciate you putting up with me.
No, it's great. And we'll see you next time with, I'm hopefully going to continue an international, might have been a little influenced by the latest Men in Black movie. I'm just saying, we've talked to a lot of Canadians and a bunch of Americans, and a lot of the people that have helped us are around the world, and I'm trying to get them to free up their schedule, pin them down, and you can learn more about them next time on Attack of Opportunity.